Just go be a demon monster.
But I also love that part of becoming a demon lord is build yourself up.
True.
Out of succubus crap.
Again, it's the Lifetime movie again. Like, have you been betrayed by mortals, brought low from your demon lord status? Hey. Crossing the street, break a heel. On the way to the big meeting.
Oh no! Orcus will never forgive me.
And begin. Welcome to Idle Insights. My name is Dylan, and I am coming to you live from the safe and isolated confines of my home office corner of my living room in beautiful Victoria, BC, Canada. I have a very special guest joining me today. But first, shout out and thank you to our moderator co-producer Sasha. And of course, huge thanks to Dungeons & Dragons for hosting us on the official D&D Twitch. It is and will always be an honor to be here. Okay, so my guest today is someone that I would describe as a pillar of the Idle Champions community. He's been with us for years, writing guides and helping to moderate the official Idle Champions Discord and subreddit. He also recently started publishing adventures on DM's Guild, starting with the Beast of Blemish and quickly following up with Twice in a Blue Moon, both of which, I might add, made their debut on Twitch last year. He's the former host of Mars on Monday, the creator of Mars Idle Trials, and of course the host of Mars Guiding Hand, a weekly show on the C&E Games Twitch on Wednesdays, where he discusses the latest updates and strategies in Idle Champions. Please give your warmest, emote-filled welcome to Ryan Blake Hall, perhaps better known to you as Storyteller Mars.
You're gonna make me cry, Dylan.
Oh, well, welcome to the show.
I wasn't expecting such a. That was lovely, a lovely introduction.
Well, you've been around for a while. I was starting to write it out earlier, and I was like, he's done some stuff for us, with us,
some stuff
as part of the community, you know. So, yeah.
Well, greetings, champions. Always wanted the chance to say that on here, so I finally get to. That's nice. It's good to see everybody. I've got chat up, so I can see you guys. And cheers to all of you. I love you all. I know it's been so long, a full 24 hours, but I'm glad to be back on the channel here.
Well, I mean, if we're getting picky, it's been 22 hours since you were on the channel.
Okay,
I mean, come on.
Yes, 22 hours. Close enough. A day.
First things first, checking in. How are you today? How are things?
Oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here. Anybody who knows me well enough in this community knows that I live and breathe Idle Champions. I'm crazy about this game, crazy about this community. So the fact that I actually get to be here on this show, despite the fact that I have my own, this is amazing. I love it. So dream come true. Thank you so much. I cannot stop smiling.
Good.
It hurts.
Keep smiling.
The smiling.
Yeah, having your cheeks get sore because you're smiling too much is a good problem
pain
to have. Yeah. Before we get into the routine questions that we usually go through on the on today's Twitch, Orca Leader in chat wants to know what today's tea is, and perhaps you could fill them in with the list that you gave me.
Oh, sure. So today's tea is a sweet cinnamon spice. Today's tea is also a oolong tea. Today's tea is also a blueberry acai pomegranate green tea. Today's tea is also a rose mint tea or dragon rose. Today's tea is also a orange spice tea. And today's tea is also I actually brewed up a special loose leaf in here. This is the critical blend that Lauren sent me for my birthday. So
oh wow, That's awesome.
I was saving it for a special day.
Now, be honest with me. How many of those teas are actually yesterday's teas or the days before's teas still on your
No,
desk?
I just made them. I just made all of them. It took me 10 minutes to make every one of these together. So
And now I feel lazy. I have a Moroccan Maghreb mint tea.
Also good.
And that's the only one that I have here.
Cheers.
Although there's probably still like a half liter of it. So first things first, we have a couple of questions that we are obligated to ask, essentially.
Okay.
And so the first of those is, what is your D&D story? Where did your D&D journey begin, and how did you get here?
All right. Cut me off if I'm long-winded.
No. This is the long answer question.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My D&D story. Since I was in the Cub Scouts, the precursor to Boy Scouts of America, when you're a very small child, I've always just been obsessed with fantasy fiction, big heroes, swords and sorcery, dragons, and all that stuff. But when I was in Cub Scouts, I would get bored hiking, so I would just talk my friends into letting me tell stories that I would just improvise about dragons and knights and wizards and all that stuff. And I would have them make decisions, and then I would declare the consequences or rewards of those decisions. I never knew what Dungeons and Dragons was at this point. So once I found out that D&D was a thing at the age of 10, I decided that would be my life hobby. And I just dove headfirst into it. I started off DMing, and I remember I made my first campaign world on graph paper. Every single 5-foot square of an entire miles wide island on just bits of graph paper. It took 60 something sheets of graph paper to make this island, but we played on it for a year or two and loved it. And then things just progressed from there. I got books, more books. I learned more. I was just cutting my teeth on 3rd edition, 3.5 specifically. And at first, I was a horrible rules lawyer. But eventually I grew out of that phase, thankfully. When I was in college, I made all of my friends basically on the day that I decided to show up to the D&D club. I showed up, and I had a wizard. His name was Klein. He's a teleportation specialist. Everybody thought I was going to be a total joke. Ended up being a total boss. It was awesome. Had a great time. People gave me high fives afterward. They loved my character and my playstyle so much. It was just so wholesome. I made so many friends that night, and they stuck with me for years. Eventually, I stepped up as the head DM of my college group, and made just unforgettable stories. Loved it. I eventually moved over to doing online stuff after we all got out of college, and I used Roll20 extensively. I've over 10,000 hours on Roll20, so I really like that site. I haven't really used it in a while though. But eventually, one thing led to another, and I decided I had an interest in, D&D video games, and that's how I found you guys.
And tell me about reaching the point where you start writing and publishing your own adventures.
Oh man, so that's a very real topic for me. I've been writing things for years. In fact, I keep all of it. Everything I've ever written, I've kept in this huge file box that I have. But I've just never been bold enough to put anything out because I deal with a lot of depression and anxiety. And I take medication for it now, thankfully, but for the longest time, I didn't. And I had these horrible conflicts in me where I wanted to create and I wanted to put things out in the world, but then I would beat myself up thinking, no, you're not good enough. No one wants to see these things. You should just put it away, keep it as a trophy of shame for years. But now, finally, I've managed to overcome that enormous mental barrier, and I'm actually putting my work out into the world, and apparently people like it, and that is a great feeling. I feel I don't know, exonerated in some weird way. Yeah.
I mean, it's not uncommon to be your own biggest critic,
Mm-hmm. So I've got 2 adventures out now, and I love them, and I hope that other people like them too.
Yeah. Do you have plans for 3, 4, 5?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Now, will they be things that you come together with now, or will they be adaptations of some of the previous work in your file box?
It's going to be a mix of things. Honestly, when I did Twice in a Blue Moon, that was an original adventure, but obviously I put my own self-insert character Mars into it. But I also put one of the first NPCs I ever designed as a kid into it, the assassin that the players fought in the adventure multiple times. That was actually a character that I came up with at the age of like 12 or something. So
That's
it's
cool.
going to be, I'll mix in some things, spice it up with my past, but it'll be an original adventure at its heart.
Okay, that's cool. Do you have a preferred edition of D&D?
Definitely 5th edition has my heart
Yeah?
all the way. I had like an encyclopedic memory of 3.5. Any of my close friends could vouch for me on that. But once 5th edition came around, I don't know. It dawned on me, 3.5 is too complicated. 5th edition is so elegant. I don't have to memorize page numbers. I don't have to reference 300 different magazine articles to find a specific feat that I'm looking for. No. Just 5th edition, it was so much more elegant, streamlined. It was easier to teach people how to play, which is something that I really enjoy doing. I've taught tons of people how to play D&D. I like 5e.
Yeah. And do you have a preferred class specialization? What are your favorites?
Oh, my favorites. I'm a sucker for anything that is a magical warrior, whether that's arcane or divine, or they favor magic, or they favor melee or ranged, as long as it's some kind of mix. I don't like picking. I like doing it all. So I like paladins, I like clerics, I like warlocks, I like bards. Anything that can do a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, I'm into it.
Yeah, or just everything, like bards.
Or just everything.
Yeah.
Bard is probably my favorite class, hands down. Pick one.
This makes me think of that Rick and Morty comic where the first thing that Rick says is like that if you make a bard, rip up your character sheet because they're bullshit, Morty.
I like bards.
Yeah. No, they're awesome. I've played as a bard. They're really, really good, but they also feel too good. They can just do
It
too
almost
much.
feels like cheating.
It does a little bit. Like that you can do anything. I think is
You
the
have an
thing.
answer for every situation. It might not be the best answer,
they're
but
the
it
only-
is an answer.
It's the only class that doesn't run into a situation where like I don't know what to do here or I'm not useful here. It's like no, they're always good.
They've always got at least something to bring to the table.
Yeah. Which is to say, they're very good. That's cool. Now, tell me about what drove you to become this visual guides guy.
Yeah. So that's a pretty simple answer, honestly. It's because Silisa and Garwar, way back when, even when I started, they were already making things when I came into the game. But I wanted to make stuff for the community. They had text-based guides on lockdown. It really felt like there was nothing that I could contribute to anything textually. So I thought, well, why not just go around the obstacle? Why not just find a different way entirely of contributing to the community? So thus I came up with the idea of doing visual aids for everybody. And apparently they are pretty widely used, which I'm very thankful for, because it takes a lot of work to keep those updated.
Yeah. Yeah. I would expect it to, especially since we've never slowed down making characters.
Nope.
So, how much space do you have for icons and such?
I just have to keep expanding it. Eventually, I'm gonna have to like break it into different pieces, or I don't know. Once we get to like 500 characters or something.
Well, 500 might take a while, but 100 isn't going to be that far away, really. It'll be on us before we know it.
Good. More.
Yeah, and then now, I remember you tweeting not that long ago that you professionally make visual guides.
Yeah, my my job's pretty boring. It's I'm essentially in customer service. You can think of it like that. Mm-hmm. But I've been vying for a position that I've had my eyes on for like 5 months now, and there's only 2 of us in it. I'm the second one, and what we do is we create presentations about the information in our database for the company in order to educate the other employees. So my job is literally to make visual guides now, and that's a pretty cool feeling.
I remember you tweeting that and thinking it was very appropriate.
It's funny, they had no idea that I do this already.
Yeah. Or did they, though? I mean, really?
Maybe. I think at least one of them watches my show.
Yeah. Watches Mars Guiding Hand, or watched one of your older shows like Mars on Monday?
Yeah, I think the lady who mentored me when I was first getting started in the company, she actually like watches the VODs now for Guiding Hand. She had no idea how any of this works. She's not into the game. She was just curious.
Yeah. So it didn't catch you reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea a couple of years back? No, I haven't mentioned that at all. I should. Yeah, I should. I want to get back into that so much. Yeah?
I've got so many other things. Yeah, I've got this hilarious 1906 year magazine. It's like a 200-page magazine from 1906 about cats. It's just like a bunch of people writing poetry and short stories and opinion pieces about cats from 1906. So that's public domain. I could read that. It's pretty funny.
Is it because it's just strange content, or is there something? Or are you passionate about it in some way?
It's kind of like how cat memes are dominant online just in general, but apparently cat memes have been around forever. So this is like, what are the cat memes of 1906? I have a magazine about it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just thinking back to just The Simpsons, which has been on air for like 30 years now. So, but early seasons, flipping the channels, like, ugh, all these channels and nothing but cats. That is essentially the internet, and there are no shortage of cats on the internet. I'm a dog person myself, but I had an awful cat growing up. Actually, she was a wonderful cat who was just very, very, very surly and only liked 2 people. Luckily, I was one of them, but everybody else would just she'd attack them. It was one of those things where.
Sorry for your experience. Cats are lovely. Well,
no, I'm not sorry about that experience either. I just like dogs more because I have a lot of fun with them, and they bring more joy to my life. Whereas cats, I'm like, my cat doesn't like me or care.
That's what I like about cats. They'll just leave me alone eventually, and then I get alone time, and it's great.
Yeah, but when a dog wants your attention, they'll just sit there and look at you and try and guilt you. And a cat wants your attention, they're going to jump on your keyboard and knock over your coffee.
Yeah, they stay out of the room.
Yeah, they're all good dogs. Exactly. Nem. Yeah. My cat growing up, I would have to tell people, I'd be like, don't pet the cat. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And then they'd pet the cat, and she'd be like, just every time. And I'm just like, what'd I tell you? Like, leave the cat alone. You thought you were a cat person. This cat doesn't like people. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Anyways, reading about cats. Now I have to ask, because one of the things that stuck out to me was when I'm trying to remember what you read before 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Started with Sherlock Holmes. It's Pride and Prejudice, Frankenstein, 20,000 Leagues, of course, Around the World in 80 Days.
Around the World in 80 Days was the other one that I tuned into a bit,
That was a fun
think.
one.
Yeah. And I was just kind of... You got so into it. You were very into those books.
I love doing voice work. I'm not a professional of that in any means, but I very much enjoy doing different voices of things. Like sometimes when people watch my show, Guiding Hand, I'll sometimes voice the characters in their dialogue. I really enjoy Jarlaxle. It's just a fun one to break out every now and then.
Yeah.
I don't think he really sounds like that, but it's just fun to give him that like rapscallion gravelly sound.
No, I think it's fun. I mean, there's all different interpretations, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the one that Mark does on Mondays is an interpretation of an interpretation, because he's trying to copy the voice actor who did it for Neverwinter.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's that's why he picked that specific one, was because he was trying to
So
sound
cool.
like that one.
No, it's like a legacy then. That's neat.
A little bit, yeah. And then, even though he doesn't talk about it, Jason Charles Miller was Dritz in that game, but he doesn't talk about it much. But yeah, he was the most famous Drow. Well,
That's
is he the most
amazing.
famous
What
Drow
an
at this point? Probably still the most famous Drow. Yeah, I just realized that my characters are fighting armored abyssal chickens in the background.
I'm just grinding Mad Wizard on loop over here.
Yeah, somebody asked to put the HUD back down, so there we go. It's back down. I just find it, I don't know, I find the less clutter in my background, the less distracting it is for me, so I tend to close it. So yeah, you were doing these shows. Eventually, you became the first show that we what's the word I'm looking for? Because we had our Thursday show for years, and then we decided to start doing more. And the first one we did was for our previous game, Crusaders. We started Crusaders Weekly with Kat and Erica. But yours was the next one after that, and the first one that wasn't hosted by or produced directly by us.
Yeah. It was such an honor, and boy, just what a wild shot. Like I don't know if I've really ever opened up about how, like, the story of how that came to be. I pretty much just sent a letter to C&E. And I mentioned in it everything that I've done for the community so far, and how I would just love to do something, more on some official capacity. And I made that this grand visual thing. It was this whole scene of different characters battling different monsters, and there were funny things in the background and such, and just tried to make it as fun as I could. And I just sent that in, and then I tweeted about it, saying like, "Oh, I'm so nervous. I just sent in this email that it could have a huge impact on my future." Blah blah blah. And Eric told me later that he was in bed when he was scrolling Twitter and saw my tweet about that, and then immediately got a notification about an email from me. And one thing led to another. We had dinner at Gen Con together, and
it was after that you met Eric at what's the event?
Gen
the
Con.
good one, Gen Con. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was my first Gen Con ever, something I've always wanted to do, and to think that I'd be able to sit down with Eric and have dinner at probably the fanciest restaurant I've ever been to in my entire life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was incredible. It was an unforgettable evening, and we had a wonderful time. I was incredibly nervous, but he was such a wonderful host. We I don't know, it felt like we're really connected, and here we are.
Mm-hmm. And now you're 45 episodes into to Mars Guiding Hand, and you had your 1 year last month.
Yeah. I'm blown away. I'm constantly blown away. Every time I stop and think what I've accomplished so far in such a short amount of time. And I really feel like I owe it to the fact that I finally decided to start taking medication and going to therapy and overcoming these terrible barriers that I set up for myself. I never would have taken a shot like that in my past, to just send out an email to C&E and see where it goes. Never would have even tried. But now I am bold enough to try things like that, and my boldness has rewarded me so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah,
Gotta take chances.
absolutely. Yeah. Do you remember specifically what made you make that pivot?
Yeah, it's a bit raw, but I could open up about it.
As far as you are comfortable, you know.
Okay.
You don't have to
No,
go
I
anything you
think
don't
that
want to.
these things should be talked about, because the more that we shy away from it, the less we're going to like normalize these things. We need to be able to open up and talk about mental health if we're going to be able to, overcome all the stigma about it in global society.
Mhm.
So, okay. Whew. I was in a horrible spiraling depression after college that lasted years. I pretty much was doing like nothing with my life, if I'm being honest, and it was difficult. It was really, really difficult to keep going during that time. If it weren't for my parents and my friends, I wouldn't have made it on my own. I didn't have any kind of an income or anything. I was basically living off of the charity of the people who loved me. And they were very patient with me for years. One day when I was at another convention, I was at Dragon Con, I decided I was going to attend this one workshop that was all about writing and mental health. It was called, what was it? Like, Grasping the Light or something like that. Like, hold on to the light. That was it. It was just a beautiful title. It really stuck out to me in the programming schedule. So I attended that. And one of the speakers on the panel, I wish I could remember his name. He was a fantasy author, and everything that he talked about resonated with me specifically to an incredible degree. He talked about having all these fears that if he started taking medication for mental health, that he wouldn't be himself anymore. That if it changed the way he thought about things, the way that he approached the world, he would no longer be himself. He would be someone else, a different version of himself. And that was something that I was afraid of for so long. And when he explained that when he actually started taking medication, that it just made him feel more like himself than he ever had before, and how he was doing better now. Still a struggle, but he was doing better now. It kind of broke me down. I actually cried. I shook his hand, talked to him for like an hour afterward, and ultimately I came away with the personal decision, why bother holding on to this version of myself that I hate? Why not, even if it does change me, wouldn't that be better? If I don't like myself, if the medication changes me, then shouldn't I want to do that anyway? And then if it doesn't change me, then I still get what I want. I'm still me. I had nothing to lose, it felt like. So just logically, it made sense. Okay, let's just do the thing. I set up an appointment, go to my doctor the very next week, and started taking my medication at that point. It was a while until I found the correct one for me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, now that I take that every day, I feel good. I feel like the person that I've always wanted to be, that I've always strived to be, and just never had the courage or the capacity to fully embrace before. That's it.
No, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's a really good question.
It seemed like there was a noticeable shift in your narrative, so I figured I'd ask about it.
Thank you. You knew me before I got on medication. It was basically in the middle of my Idle Champions career. Started this in 2017, started medication in 2019.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and then 2020 happened.
Then 2020 happened.
Yeah.
Yay.
And it's been a time. But
better or for worse, it's been a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't pour from an empty cup. So self-care and, looking after your own mental health and wellness is a pretty important thing that isn't always obviously an important thing. So, yeah, I'm glad
we have to be able to care for ourselves to care for others. So
yeah. On a lighter note,
yes,
tell me about Mars Guiding Hand. 44, 45 episodes. I want to say it was episode 44 this week, but I might be misremembering.
So. It's hard. It's honestly hard to keep track of the number of them.
Yeah.
But I think it was 44. I love it. It feels like one of the best things I've ever done. I love doing my show. Not just for the fact that it is a show about a game that I enjoy, but because of what I get to do, how I get to engage with the community about it. I get to introduce people to the game. Like, so often I'll get people saying like, hey, I'm new to the game. And I'm like, oh, hey, well, cheers. Welcome to Idle Champions. Thanks for joining us. Come on in, ask questions, get comfy, enjoy the game. It gives me a bit of a soapbox to stand on to express my opinions about things, which are largely positive. There's some negative things, of course. Nothing's perfect. Idle Champions is not perfect. It's very good, though, and I do talk about that. I so often like to kind of break down barriers because it feels like in our community so often there is like pressure to play as hard as you can. You gotta get the highest stage. You gotta get the biggest gold numbers, and you don't need to do that. Mm-hmm. You should just have fun. It's a video game. Just enjoy yourself. And that's something that I really like vamp on a lot on my show. There's different ways to play the game, and if you enjoy optimizing, awesome, good for you. If you don't, that's fine too. The community's made up of all kinds of players, and you're welcome here. So I like using Guiding Hand as my way of welcoming people into the community, saying like, come on in, we're a family. I'll teach you some things. We're going to have a nice time. However you decide to play, that's totally fine. Press F to put familiars on the field. Every single episode somebody asks.
Now, talking about learning to enjoy the game and relax, is that where your idea for the Vow of Poverty came from?
Yes. Yeah, I love a challenge. And I also love the idea of self-imposed challenges in the wake of not having challenges imposed on you. At the time when I came up with that, it was still pretty early. I think I don't remember if it was before Patrons. Idle Trials was before Patrons, but I don't remember the timeline for Vow of Poverty, for the Gearless Challenge, like when that actually started. But I remember thinking, this game's all about getting gear. This game's all about trying to gear up characters. What if I came up with a challenge that took that pressure off? Would that possibly even help people to learn the characters better, to learn the game better, or even to appreciate otherwise unappreciated characters more? Which was definitely a thing that I experienced playing the game in that challenge mode, was that certain characters that I normally might never use were very useful. And of course, a lot of things have changed since that time. But I remember, for example, Jim. I didn't really care much about Jim on my main account, but on Gearless, my best DPS, period, hands down. It was great. Solved a lot of my problems.
Let's see a couple questions from someone going by Barney9. First one being, who's Eric? So Eric is the CEO of Codename Entertainment. He is the boss, and he is also the one who normally travels. Attending Gen Con and many other cons and many other events and such. And although these days he's housebound, like the rest of us. And then there was also a follow-up question, which was, for this event, who should we focus on gearing? And is there a recommendation, or is it up to preference? And I'm going to let you answer that because I don't have an opinion on it yet.
Excellent. Okay, so you need to ask yourself what's most important to you, because there's the excitement around the new character. Yes, Human is fantastic, and I would strongly advise you to focus on Human because not only speed champion, but also gear that affects the speed mechanics of the champion. So please pick up that champion, gear them up. But Paulton is being retired after this event. So if you want to optimize getting gear for a character that's about to be retired, if you don't want to have to obsess over doing time gates or patron chests for them, then you should focus Paulton. That being said, Paulton isn't a generally hugely used character in the current meta. Havilar is, for purposes of speed mechanics, at least for gem farming. So the answer is you really can't lose with any of the characters that are in this event. Paulton is fine. He's not bad at all. He's at least, somewhat competitive with the characters in his slot. He's not a waste of time whatsoever to invest in. I would prioritize Havilar more. I would prioritize Human more. And I would probably prioritize Human over all the others. But I'm biased. And I have to couch this opinion in that I am horribly biased about whoever's the new guy. Whoever's the new one is the one that I'm always the most excited about. I've already geared up Paulton. I've already geared up Havilar. I'm going all in on Human. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself what's most important to you. Make your decision based on that.
Mm-hmm. On that note, do you have a favorite champion? A champion whose design you like the most? Or aesthetic you like the most? Or
changes. I bet a lot of people in chat could guess at least some of my answers. I'm going to lead with Frida because I've always loved Frida since she was first introduced to the game, and I spent my entire mountain of blacksmith contracts on her to get her item levels up as high as I possibly could, which wasn't a wise decision, but it was a very fun one. I really like Frida. I don't really use her that much, that being said, nowadays, just because there's so many other great options out there. But whenever I just want to have fun, I'll do a Frida DPS formation. It's nice. Other champions that I just really enjoy, I love Korth in slot 2 because he's a lizard man samurai whose name means danger. That's hilarious. I love Korth. He's not meant to be a funny character, but if you take a step back, he's a really funny character. So I like him for that reason. But Talon is easily my favorite slot 2 at this point. Not just for design, but also easily the strongest character in slot 2 for me. I love Neris just because her spiritual weapon is extremely cool. What can make any character more interesting? Ghost Sword. A ghost sword that follows them around and attacks when they do. Yep. So Neris increases the cool factor of any other champion you put her with. So I like her for that reason. I can keep going. I have a wonderful opinions on everything.
Hey man, these characters. I got time.
Good. They're all fun. I love Jarlaxle as the comic relief of the team for dialogue. He cracks me up. The way he's written is genuinely hilarious. Sometimes I'll go back and play through stories that Jarlaxle has dialogue in, just to be amused at the things he says. He just really, I don't know. He really punches things up in a way that makes it just more enjoyable. It takes some of the direness out of any situation that they're in and makes the story feel more lighthearted again, which is important for D&D because for anyone who's actually played D&D, it's like a constant balance between, we got a serious story, this fate of the world, and then haha silly jokes because we're people playing a game together.
Yeah.
Jarlaxle feels like that element added to this D&D game, and I appreciate that.
The Moonburst. Which slot is Human in?
8.
And Does does Human count for triple bard bonuses? No, that's a balance thing that we talked about a lot internally. Yeah, if he actually counted as 3 kobolds for the purposes of buffs and everything, it would be game breaking.
Yeah,
it would be like, oh, you have 3 more short folk qualifiers, you know, like in one slot. Okay, you know, like we got 3 more instances of pack tactics getting buffed, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, that's the main thing. I don't even know that the tech is in the game for a character to count as one race 3 times. But yeah, it would be crazy good. Is that a new T?
This is that special T.
The critical T.
Yeah. Hey, Lauren. Thank you. That was the birthday present you sent me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying it for the first time now.
What's the flavor? What's the mouthfeel? Come on, spill the beans.
Oh man, that's really good. It's beautiful too. It's like a vibrant purple. That's why I used a clear glass, because I thought it would do something like that. It has purple luster dust in this, so it's just gorgeous to look at.
Purple luster dust? Is that like food coloring?
Basically, but like shiny. What if food coloring, but it was shiny? Yeah, luster dust. There's holly, ginger, cinnamon, pea flower, marshmallow root, vanilla. This is lovely.
You'll smile in the mirror afterwards, and your teeth and your tongue will be purple.
And I'm fine with that.
Okay, so Star Chaser asked in chat, what would be an original character that you would like to design with CNE?
Oh, come on.
It's a very leading question, but they still asked it.
All right, well, fine. I will officially go on record. You know it's coming. I made up a character named Mars years ago to be my avatar in the community. He's the face on all the visual aids. He was my face for hosting the Idle Trials. So he's an Arcana domain half-elf cleric of Mystra, and featured as a major NPC in the Twice in a Blue Moon one-shot that I ran in December of last year. I love the character. He's kind of the spiritual reincarnation of a character that I played in college. That character was very much a huge jerk and a power gaming monster. This incarnation of Mars is supposed to be much more wholesome and uplifting and supportive. So it's kind of like making up for my past sins in a way. And it's a character that means a lot to me. And you know, if I ever had the opportunity, I would immediately jump at the opportunity. But I don't know if that's really ever gonna come to pass. It'd be cool if it did, though. But beyond that, I have, man, just all sorts of other characters that I've played over time. There was an ASMR bard I played for like 2 years that I loved, named Ever Calm. And I even had a custom miniature made of him because he has such a special place in my heart. So, yeah, lots of other things too.
I have a follow-up question to something that you touched on there.
Sure.
Talk to me about power gaming jerks. Do you have a feeling about people who are min-maxers who, so-called power gamers? Or are you just self-deprecating humor talking about how you used to play?
Okay, so there's a fine line. This is a tricky subject. Hear me out. Every group is different. Sometimes a group needs a power gamer because they just need someone at the table who knows the game, they know their character, they know how to beat the odds, stack the numbers in their favor, whatever, just so that the rest of the group, they can all just get through things. But some groups aren't going to enjoy that because maybe they want the spotlight shared. Maybe they don't want one person being the core of the team. And for the longest time, I was that guy. I was like, look at me, I'm the most important person. I'm gonna beat all the monsters. Watch me completely just defeat this encounter with a single spell so that the rest of you don't have to do anything. Aren't I great? They hated me. It took me a long time to realize this. But once I did, it was a pretty obvious evolution for me at that point. Like, oh, whoa. If I take a step back, if I hold back a little bit and let the other players step up and do things, then we all have more fun and we build better bonds as friends over time. Huh, what a weird concept. I just didn't get that for years. So eventually I got to the point where this character I played in college, I would cast, like, no joke, like 10 spells per round because I was a horrible min-maxer and figured out, like, action economy breaking and all that. And I decided, okay, every time I do something like that, I'm going to have my character have a horrible headache so that he just can't cast spells for a few turns or something. And it really balanced everything out. And that was like the start of my journey in understanding that it's not about winning D&D. You win if everyone's having fun. And you have a responsibility as a player, not just to enjoy the game yourself, but to help everyone else at the table to enjoy the game as well. It took me years to understand that, but now that's what I try to embrace.
And how do you feel about players in your games or your one-shots who want to try out some of the more insane, I guess? No, that's not the right word for it. That's not a fair word to use. Some of the more rules-abusing combinations of subclasses and abilities in your games.
Okay, my hard line is no mystics. Just no mystics. It's the most broken thing in 5th edition, in my opinion. But outside of that, I'm open to things in general if my players ask for them. But it's more important to me that the other players at the table are okay with these things. If I pick up at the table that one of my players is having less of a good time because of another player being too strong, then I might, talk to them in private, say like, hey, what's going on? Oh, I just don't feel like there's enough, focus on me, or I feel like I don't get to do anything because this other person's always talking or always doing things. So then I might talk to the other player. It's just all about diplomacy. You want to share the spotlight, share the love, make everyone enjoy themselves. So if the group is okay with one or more players power gaming, playing some amazing combination of mechanics in order to win the game at D&D, then that's all right with me. Because, and this is something I tell my players a lot, anything you can do, I can do. If you're going to break the seal on using some powerful combination of things, I can too. Mm-hmm. As long as you behave, I'll behave.
Okay. Yeah, it's I always find it interesting talking to people about stuff like that, because on the one hand, you want your players to have as much fun as possible and have any option be open to them. On the other hand, you're like, well, coffee locks are kind of bullshit. And there's some other things that are like, there's no way they intended for the mechanics to be abused in quite that way. I know in my game, I can't stand I'm DMing a friend who's playing an armor artificer, and they're a pain in the butt. They're so obnoxious.
Yeah.
I
haven't experienced it yet myself.
They're just so tanky, and they can abuse their flash of inspiration to add a crazy amount to any of their skill checks or ability score checks or whatever.
Oh man.
And it's just like, because every time you think that they might fail at something, they don't. Yeah, which is why I made death saves permanent in that game, and why I permanent. Yeah, if you fail one, that's an X on your sheet the entire campaign.
Oh wow, that's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, well, you know what? It stresses them out. So that's it. It achieves its purpose. Okay, so I'm still on the note talking D&D, because why would we talk about anything else? Do you have a favorite campaign? Any edition of D&D, across any edition.
Any edition? Oh,
yeah.
Man. Oh boy. That's a tough one. There's so many good ones. Is it fair to answer with a homebrew? I feel like that's unfair because that's not really a
That is
talking
unfair,
point.
yeah. I guess I should have specified. Published, something that you
let's
played
narrow
that
the
somebody else
field.
created.
Okay.
Yeah.
Published D&D modules, like official campaign modules for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm gonna go with Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah?
It's close. It's right there between Tomb of Annihilation and Curse of Strahd. It's
Okay.
almost an even split, but I'd say like 51 in favor of Tomb of Annihilation, 49 Curse of Strahd. It's very close. I've played through Curse of Strahd. I've DM'd Tomb of Annihilation for a group of cool teens that I basically taught how to play D&D, and just had a grand time playing with them. And playing through Tomb of Annihilation felt like kind of going back to like my roots of playing D&D with, you know, these kids are just here to have fun. They didn't already know everything about the game. There was no like long discussions about like, oh, is this too strong or blah blah blah. It was just, let's just get together, play through the game, have some fun. It's an equal parts serious and silly story, which I really enjoy. There's some like little details about it in the design that I don't like, in that there's this huge pressure to pursue the main plot. Stop the soulmonger, save the world. I love save the world plots, first of all. But they also filled this area with interesting diversions.
Yeah.
You want to pursue these diversions, these other adventure sites, but if you do, that takes time, and you're on the clock
Yeah.
to beat the soulmonger and save the world. So that's the one thing that I'd really like take away from it. That's a point against it. But the humor makes up for that. It's just a genuinely fun and funny campaign to play through. And plus, the Serac is a classic, iconic villain. So being able to square off against him, it's an unforgettable thing. And it's at least more fair than the Tomb of Horrors, which I DM'd once and probably never again. No one enjoyed that.
That's interesting. Have you watched? Do you watch any other content creators? Like, have you watched Mr. Rex's video about the Tomb of Annihilation?
No, I haven't heard of this.
Oh, it'll blow your mind because spoiler. And for anybody who doesn't want a spoiler for the Tomb of Annihilation campaign or D&D, cover your ears for the next 20 seconds or so. Spoiler: that's not a Serac. A Serac is a Cambion demi-lich who was in the Tomb of Horrors, who is long dead. And the Serac that's running around that's in Tomb of Annihilation is a simulacrum that was created by the original Serac to do stuff for him, but has outlasted him and is still just around. But yeah, it's not a Serac.
That makes so much sense, because you don't go back from demi-lich to lich. It's a one-way thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch that video. That's very interesting.
Yeah. The other thing about it
players
is
would appreciate that too.
he also adds a bunch of details about some of the areas around Chult that they didn't dive into. Like if you have the Chultan map, and most of the southern part of it is pretty Spartan for how many things there are, as just map points with things happening, and the southeastern part of it's completely empty. There's nothing there, except that there's a heck of a lot there, which probably would have necessitated making the book twice as big if they had dived into what else is there. But highly recommend that video. It's good.
Oh wow, yeah. Somebody link that to me. I'm gonna want to watch that later.
Yeah, Mr. X. Yeah, I'll DM it to you after this,
Thank
or
you.
I guess after I get off stream. I watched the video after I had played through the campaign because one of my friends who I am currently DMing was DMing that campaign, and afterwards, when I sent it to him, he's like, "Son of a," because we killed a Serac at the end, which there was just enough hubris on a Serac's part to get grappled and silenced and then beaten to death by a group of adventurers. It was a good campaign. I think every good campaign should have at least one like epic feeling dungeon in it.
Agreed.
You know, that would be the only thing that that I would mark against Curse of Strahd for me. Like, there's the intro of the Death House, which is like a small mini dungeon, and then in the book there's the Amber Temple and Castle Ravenloft. And
Well, you can also just expand.
not that they're
things
bad,
yourself.
they're awesome. And I had a great time playing through the Amber Temple. Oh
Good.
man, that was a fun experience. Yeah, one of our players got killed in there. It was great.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Should have been my
Played a-
character that got killed, but no, it was his.
I played a blood hunter in that one. And,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was lawful good. His name was Sarda. And by the end of it, in order to beat Strahd, he took the deal at the Amber Temple. And
Oh, which
yeah,
there's
There's a
deal?
lot of options.
There's a couple deals.
yeah. He ended up with one that gave him flight, like big, like leathery bat wings, I think.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
it turned him
There's
evil.
like 20 deals you can make in there.
Mhm.
And there was in my campaign, we had an NPC with us who was of questionable allegiance, and he like got addicted to the deals and started running from room to room, taking all of them.
One of our guys did that. It was
And
hilarious.
then my character
He took,
was
like 8.
racing them, trying to stop them, but also picking up deals, and they were fighting. And then the rest of our party was caught in the middle, as
That's
well as everything
fantastic.
else. It was a huge mess, which made it pure joy to play through because it was such a mess. But it was good. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Not why the guy died though. The guy there's an Arcanoloth in there, and he just Finger of Death our druid and killed him.
Oh well, okay.
Yeah,
Bit anticlimactic.
yeah. Well, our druid had it coming. He
deserved it.
he kept the stats that were rolled. They were really bad, and it was kind of miraculous that he had made it that far. But he so failed his save and got instantly killed. Yeah. Because, just a little later on, some of those spells are save or die spells, right? So,
Yeah. I don't like save or die spells. It's just anti-fun.
I like the way they've done it in 5e in that it's save or die, but you still have to take the damage. Like, the damage still has to exceed the threshold in order for it to kill you. So it just
Step in the right direction.
skips death saves if you fail the
Anything
save,
that
and
simplifies
it
things.
brings you to 0. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, just another
because-
example of the elegance of 5e.
Yeah, and I'm glad that in my permanent death saves campaign that they're rapidly reaching the point where they're going to start dealing with those spells. So, yeah, good times. Anyways, we're coming to the end of
Oh boy, that was so fast.
of joining me today. Any shout outs or anything you want to do, projects you want to talk about, etc. before I let you go?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Idle Champions community, I love you guys. Thank you for just being yourselves. Thank you for doing what you do, just playing the game, showing up to the shows, making silly memes and jokes in the Discord and all that. And it wouldn't be a community without all of the members of our community. So thank you, whoever you are listening to this, thank you personally for watching this show and everything. Just, yeah, means a lot to me, honestly. And also shout out to, of course, to all of my idle friends in the other shows, Garwar, of course, who DM'd a game for me and others last night, and we had a good time. And Trevor and Lee and Sean and just everybody. There's a long list. Just because I know they'll appreciate this, Michael and Aaron and Kevin, my players in Tomb of Annihilation, still love you guys. Be well. Take care. I will DM a game for you eventually again at some point, I'm sure. But that's. Oh, my parents asked me to do a shout out for them. So hey, mom. Hey, dad. There you go.
Yeah, your parents watch Twitch? That's crazy. My mom has no idea what it is.
Yeah, they don't understand it, but they're very supportive.
Oh, that's cool. Right on. Okay.
Right.
Well, this is it. Thanks for taking the time to join me today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the work that you do, that you have done, that you continue to do. Yeah, thanks for being you. And I'm proud of you, man. Taking control of your narrative.
Thank
you
you.
know, working on yourself. I'm glad you did it.
It's an ongoing
And-
battle, but I'm winning.
Yeah, man.
So, cheers, everyone, and look sharp. See you on Discord.
Yeah. All right, Ryan. Have a good day.
You too. Later.
Cheers. That was fun. Been meaning to, there was a moment earlier this week where I was sitting there and I reached out to Ryan, to Mars, and I'm like, hey, have you been on this show yet? And he's like, no, I haven't. I'm like, how does that not happen? And so it was nice to finally get to do that. So yeah, shout out to Mars for, man, just tons of contributions to the community and effort, and being an awesome host and being a good man and all that stuff. It's much appreciated. I realized there were a couple other Mars focused questions in there, but I think he'd be more than willing to answer them either in chat or on the next Mars Guiding Hand. Things like if you were a patron, what would your restrictions be, that kind of stuff. So anyways, there were a couple questions that I want to go over before too much time has passed, that I saw as they were coming in. One of them, somebody was asking whether or not human counts for both male and female bonuses. No, he does not. Human counts only as male. I know that there are technically 2 male kobolds and 1 female kobold in there, but that's as designed. He currently counts just as a male. What was the character you were talking about a week ago? Was a half-orc magical tank or something? I don't think that was me, Human Rejection. I think that was it was either when Dupuy was on and we were talking about ideas for magical tanks, because the idea of a magical tank comes up fairly frequently, and we because we adapt a lot of characters, half of the characters in the game are from different shows, and almost all of the others, aside from the 10 12 C&E characters, almost all the others are from books. And like, being a magical tank isn't something that has shown up all that much. Not saying it can't or won't ever show up, but it just hasn't been something that we've really seen so far. So yeah, have I already finished this variant? I have already finished this variant. I'm gonna finish this variant, and I think there's another one that I haven't done yet. Skip. All right. What do we have? Oh God, I forgot to do one of the Havilar ones last year. I will do that after this. Should I have read the variant text before I started? What is this one? Human is here. Undead start. Appearing. Okay. Start making characters show up. Now, we got a really interesting bit of feedback from somebody about Human and about this event that made me really happy, that I want to share with the rest of you. Just give me a second to deal with all the upgrade specializations. Yeah. I think it's this one. Anyways, and then I need to move. Who do I need to move? Quill's there. Birdsong is not here. Okay, this will actually start playing now. All right. Anyways. Yeah, so the interesting thing about a magical tank, right? So because nobody plays one, it's not something that's really come up for us, and like I'll fully acknowledge that hey, we don't have any magic attack based tank champions in the game, and certainly that would help people's Ashara / Ulcoria formations, especially if the race of said tank fit into something else. We have had discussions on our end about it. I believe that Havant is actually a Fathoms Warlock sort of tank, which could be kind of interesting. But anyways, yeah, we just kind of spitball ideas. There's a lot of different things. Eldritch Knight Abjurer would be one. Sure, anything Abjuration Wizard is kind of a tank in that it's, you know, you're shielding things, which is super cool. Yeah, it's kind of fun. I also saw Garwar mentioned asked me how I feel about psionic rogues or psionic knives or whatever, and yeah, I mean, I was pretty straight with you, Garwar. I said I was going to try something out that might be kind of mechanically abusive, because it was for a one shot. If it was for a campaign, I would have made a character, but instead I made a mechanic based character that was essentially a rogue that throws psychic knives that do crazy damage. And what did I do? I did crazy damage. Yeah, it happens. Sorry about that. Next time I'll make a character. I actually, right after that, I did make a character that I would want to play that was more character based and fun than anything. Especially since when we were playing, Lauren plays these like unbelievably chipper and bright and wonderful characters, and in that game, Jen was playing a really good character, and Trontonian was playing a good character, and I was just playing this like characterless bot, this orc that throws knives that are psychic. So yeah, next time, my next character is she is a kobold, kobold healer. Let me put it at that. She's a multi-class. She's a mix of sorcerer and warlock, but divine soul / celestial pact warlock, healer kobold that I think would be a lot of fun. Because yeah, I based her off Lauren. So, anyways, okay. Let's see. I assume some of these are for Ryan, but I'm going to answer them because I'm here now. If you could put any monster as a familiar in Idle Champions, what would you pick? I would love to see an Oblex. I want to say it's in here. I'm going to pull it up, because I think it's in here. Looks like it. Bum, 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 bum. Here we go. An Oblex spawn. These like green oozy things. We don't have enough oozy, like gelatinous familiars, you know? So an Oblex spawn would be good. Or, you know, one of the other kind of Oblexes. We just haven't really done anything with them, you know, with these weird, like, super creepy supernatural oozes that mimic people and eat memories and stuff. They're good fun. So, you know, across the board, would love to see more oozes in the game. What is the best platform to play this game on? I'm looking to get started. Thank you. What can I say about that? Ultimately, because we're on so many platforms, your platform of choice is going to be the platform that you enjoy the most. The main differences I can point out are that the Steam version of the game gets updated first and the most frequently, because it is the platform that is the easiest for us to do that on, and also it was the first platform we were on. So Steam is always a safe bet. You can access your Steam account from either, you know, a Mac or a PC. The next one I would recommend after that would be WebGL, which is to say the CNE Games page. We have a CNE Games website where you can play Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, as well as our previous two titles, Crusaders of the Lost Idols and Bushwhacker 2, just through our website. And those are the ones I recommend. But we are also available on PS4 and, because of that, PS5, as well as Xbox One and Xbox Series X, I think is the new one. But they're on the newer on the newer consoles. They're the older versions available on the newer one. You know the deal. We need to choose a bond. I think I'm still going with exotic races with this formation, pretty much, right? I'm still getting 8 and 8 out of my formation buffs, right? Or 8. 4 total, 4 total, perfect. Oh, Ashara DPS. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Let's see. Slickshot 007 asking me a purchasing question about why the empowered power boost from the $10 purchase doesn't apply to both adventuring parties while the $20 one does. That is the first I've heard of that. I had no idea. Can you open an in-game support ticket for Sean and ask about that? Because that's something that we will need to look at. I'm not even sure what the answer to that question is supposed to be. Yeah. Huh. Alrighty, so more Modron reset options when? Reset on Briv stacks, a reset on failed area, etc. We don't have any plans to expand that aspect of Modron automation in multi-party mode. The next part that we are looking at bolstering currently would be to introduce another Modron core once we feel that the game can support it well. So that'll be the next thing. And there are some ideas we would like to explore with Modron cores beyond what we've done already. Things that might make you want to use one core specifically for your speed runs or gem farming formations, etc., that kind of thing. So we think that there's a lot of room there for us to grow that feature and do some cool things. However, I cannot give you an ETA, and I can tell you that it is definitely not coming out in the next couple months. So yeah. Mycroft Jones. Hey, that's a good name. That's may or may not be the brother of Sherlock Holmes. Has there ever been any discussion or plans to make variants that are limited to specific teams, like only Force Grey or only the Heroes of Baldur's Gate, etc.? That's actually so. Yes, there have been, and that is actually something we have done. We have had variants that limit you to specific characters. Affiliations. Now, the thing that makes it less obvious is that like Force Grey, all the members of Force Grey are part of our core champions, so they've been there the whole time anyways, and you can often use them. But we had a variant where it was only the core champions you could use, which gets a heck of a lot harder when you have patron restrictions introduced. So but there's always something that we can do more about it. Yeah. Jay Baldy, can you please give us a link to that Tomb of Annihilation video you mentioned earlier? I would like to watch it later. It sounds very interesting. Absolutely. I need to make a tab. Hopefully YouTube doesn't autoplay anything over the speakers right now while I look this up, but I can find it. Just bear with me. Alrighty. Copy link address. I believe this is the one. Alrighty. So posting the link in chat, I will highlight it. 5 things you didn't know about Tomb of Annihilation by Mr. Rex. With the link, posting it in chat, and then there's a 10, 20, 30 second delay. But yeah, there it is. Is that an enormous D20 in the top left from the viewer's perspective? Oh, yeah, just a second. Yes, it is. This is an enormous D20. It is a cardboard D20 that was actually sent to the Codename office by Wizards of the Coast as part of the Christmas gift in 2017. It opens up. And so inside here they had this little sort of gift packet that had some... it had the holiday promotional magic card of the year. It had the... for those of you who know Betrayal at Baldur's Gate... I had the Minsk and Boo player card, so you could play as Minsk in that campaign. I'm pretty sure it came in here. As well as a few other things, thank you note, that kind of stuff. Yeah, D&D and Wizards, they give out holiday things sometimes, and this would have gone into the recycling, but it sat on my desk at the Codename office for years, and now sits here, sits right here, at least for now. But yeah, big D20. Alrighty. Honey Badger with 5 X's is the only way to get new characters by purchasing them. No. Purchasing them is the most convenient way to get new characters. But there are several ways you can get new characters. You can unlock new champions by playing events. So right now we have Grand Rebel Year 4 active, which means that the Year 2, Year 3, and Year 4 champions are available to be unlocked. And the nice thing about that is that the favor counts across all the adventures. So if you have 3 of them to unlock, just focus on whichever one you want first, get your favor up, and then unlock the other ones a lot more quickly and easily. If you have bounty contracts and stuff, you can get event tokens and things faster, kind of speed up your progression, etc. So, events is one way to get characters. There are time gates. There's a whole time gate system, and the time gate system, there are 2 ways you can use it. There are naturally occurring time gates in between events on the weekend off an event. We do a time gate, and it shows up. It will, there will be 3 champions you can choose from to unlock with the time gate system. And you will do their adventures from their event, or some of the adventures from their event. And it tries to pick at least one character you do not have, and one character from retired, like not available through any way other than time gates champions, and then another one. And that'll allow you to, start getting characters every few weeks. And then on top of that, you earn time gate pieces through gameplay, through purchasing them through patrons, etc. And you can use them to open a time gate and pick a champion that you want to unlock with it. So, there are those ways, those kind of sort of 3 distinct ways, even though 2 of them use the same system, but there's kind of like a few distinct ways to get them. And then there's the, if you want, you can purchase them through the store, and we certainly like it when people do that. And then, as our Green Paradox is correctly pointing out in chat, you can also get a few evergreen champions through unlocking them in the campaign. You can kind of consider them like milestone points for progression. Like the first one you see is the adventure to unlock Dritz, and then eventually you'll see the adventure to unlock Azaka Stormfang, and eventually Dragonbait, and eventually Okoria Stonemarrow, and then there's another one coming relatively soon. Are there plans to add more automation options? Like, for example, being able to fire off Havilar's ultimate once, or change formations mid-run. That's not something that we're currently looking at. The main focus with mode drone automation and multi-party mode has for a long time been just smoothing out and refining the system itself. You can check back into, I want to say it was one of the 3rd anniversary streams where we had Justin and David on it, and we were talking about it, or Margaret was talking about it with them. But the story was that at the end of 2019, when we first talked about and started work on mode drone automation, we thought that it would be a feature that would only take us a little while to develop, and it ended up taking much of 2020, like a huge portion of the year, to develop. And it got, the release of it got pushed back a number of times. We kept working on it and kept working on it and kept working on it. And then once we did release it, we kept working on bug fixes for it. So, yeah. That was kind of the focus for a while. Right now, the dev team is, a significant amount of their efforts is focused on something that we're going to announce on Monday. Yeah. Alrighty. Is Keen from Heroes of the Veil not a magic tank? He casts Green Flame Blade on his glaive. That is still a spell, correct? It's a good question. I haven't really thought about Keen because I'm not familiar with TJ Storm's character. Yeah. You were saying someone had some Human feedback. Did I miss that? I mean, everybody's got Human feedback. So far, it seems to be that people really like Human. Yeah, I don't have anything beyond that. I haven't personally played with Human much yet. I have been very much focused on what we will start talking about next week, and it has consumed a lot of my time, a lot of Chris Dupuy's time, a lot of our headspace, and a lot of our dev time, and I want to say it's the next chapter, but we have received a lot of feedback from players for years about a number of different aspects of the game. And I'm being intentionally vague with this statement. We've received a lot of different types of feedback from a lot of different types of players. And we saw an opportunity to address many of those things at once. With something that we think is super awesome, and we hope you will too. And stay tuned. You'll hear more about it next week. Let's see. Drewbud269. Can we get an overview of how DPS for clearing a level in the background is calculated? No, I can't give you that breakdown. I'm sorry. I would need Justin for that one. Or Mark. Actually, I think Mark built a lot of that system, but I would absolutely need a dev to go through that step by step. I can't walk you through that. I'm sorry. Not that I don't want to talk about it. It's that it's beyond me. I always had a talent for math in school, but I do not like it. It's just not what my brain. It's not what my brain prefers. Sorry about that. Alrighty, what is Idle Insights? I know Dylan from other shows, but what is the point of this one? So, Vesperde, I don't know if I'm doing your name right. Oh, mouse is sitting on something. Idle Insights is the community-sourced rename of the Idle Champions official weekly live stream. This show has been on the D&D Twitch between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific since mid-October 2017. And after we did 150 or so episodes, we kind of thought this show has always been called the official Idle Champions weekly live stream. And that might have worked when it was the only live stream we did. But as we started coming out with more shows, we started out, we had the Crusaders Weekly come on board, and then we had Mars Guiding Hand come on board, and Gar Wars Guides, and then Griddle Champions, Bardic Inspiration, Evergreen Champions, Improvised Champions, Champions of Lore, Champions of Psychology, Bushwhacker Weekly. We kind of reached this point where the official Idle Champions Weekly live stream, it was an unwieldy and horrifically long name for the show, and we did a few polls based on some ideas that people had tossed around, and Idle Insights was the winner. And so we rebranded the show Idle Insights. We are 6 episodes in, and on this show I usually do an interview with somebody. It will either be a member of the community or a member of our team. Like last week we had Chris Dupuy, the live services manager. We talked about the state of Idle Champions and some of the stuff that's coming up. Or it'll be someone like Mark Meir or Chris Trott, whose character has been adapted into the game, like with Lucius Elanasto and Baloth Baratil. So this is our weekly interview show, I guess. It's the only one where we consistently bring on a new guest to talk to. In order to respect their time, we usually only grab them for an hour. I know some people can be available for longer. Often they are available for less time. We've interviewed tons of people throughout the D&D community. We've had Chris Perkins on this show, or on, I guess, the OG, the original version of the show. We've had Joe Manganiello on the show. We've had Matthew Lillard on the show. We've had Lauren Urban on the show, Satine Phoenix, Rudy Rutenberg, Kim Richards, and Mark Hulmes, and Tom Hazel, and Rhiannon Gower, and Chris Trott, all from High Rollers. We've had, Morgan Webb from Acquisitions Incorporated. We've had many of the members of the Acquisitions Incorporated the C team. We've had Tristan Falcone, we've had Ryan Hartman, we've had Chris Straub. I wanted to say Kathris Straub, but Chris Straub. I think schedules didn't line up for us, and things happened, and so we didn't end up having Mike Krahulik or Jerry Holkins on, which was really unfortunate. But yeah, we've had many guests. We've had Todd Kenrick on. There's tons of guests. Jim Zub, I think, has been on. I think Jim Zub might hold the record for having been the guest the most frequently, because I think he's been on 3 or 4 times at least. Which is awesome. Jim Zub is a lot of fun to talk to. Actually, Joe Manganiello's been on twice now that I think about it. Garwar's been on the show a couple times. This is our interview show, and it has been the show that has been mostly me, with some really clutch help from Margaret and Chris Dupuis when I haven't been available. Have you had Elminster? So no, we have not had Ed Greenwood on this show, but we did. We were lucky enough to have Ed Greenwood on Bardic Inspiration on December 16th, which was one of the reasons why Bardic Inspiration was on a Wednesday evening that week. He's not normally available during Bardic Inspiration's hours. I see somebody asking if Gygax has been on. Yes, we have had Luke Gygax on twice. Luke is great to talk to, and it's actually really surreal, because when you talk to him about his D&D story and he talks about his childhood D&D games, he's like, so I was playing Melf and I was learning how to create Melf's minute meteors with my dad DMing, and it's wild. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, we've had a lot of really, really cool people on the show. There are also lots of people that we haven't had a chance yet to have. Like, I would love to have Jeremy Crawford on here at some point to talk to him. Yeah. And, there are other people I would like to talk to again, because I feel like sometimes the first interview is like you kind of getting to know somebody a little bit, and then afterwards you just have so many more questions and so many more ideas about what you could talk to them about. And so, it'd be cool to bring some of those people back on. Some of our upcoming guests are already booked, and I'm very excited for them. Because they're awesome people. So I have a very good idea of what our guests are going to look like in throughout February and March, which is really, really fun. So yeah. Anyways, yes, this is our talk show. That is the difference between Idle Insights and other shows. We used to spend more time talking about how the game works on this show. But I'll be honest. I think Garwar and Mars probably have a better understanding of Idle Champions gameplay than I do now. Probably by a significant margin. My relationship with the game has changed. I've been behind the scenes for too long to think about the game the same way that I did when I was a player who was playing it all the time and didn't have any insight into the behind the scenes. You know what I mean? It's just been a shift, but I am still super stoked to hang out with everybody each week. So, okay. Does Human count as both male and female, and kobold human blessings, double blessings? He does count as a human, and he does count as a kobold, but he does not count as both male and female. He only counts as male. Yeah. There's some. We had to kind of draw the lines in some areas with what Human would count for and how much we could potentially break the game with different aspects of it. Even though a bunch of us behind the scenes were like, Human needs to count as kobold, and kobold, but it also counts as human. And when you think about that, what would happen to Ashara's Bond short folk if a character in one slot counted as a human and also as 3 different short folk? Stuff like that. It's kind of it would be horrendous. And certainly counting as more than one sex would impact a lot of different buffs and a number of different variants as well. So at this point we kind of drew the line. Counting as kobold and human was a pretty big deal. Counting as 3 kobolds is not likely to happen. Counting as both male and female, or male, female, because each of the 3 kobolds, 2 of them are brothers and one of them's a sister. What is it? Zrang, Klebe, and Yasa. Having them count as male twice and female, we weren't going to do that. We think that Human is plenty powerful, without also counting as multiples of a gender or multiples of a race. So, yeah. Do the free Timegate weekends display different champions depending on the user? To a degree, they're random. Like, you get a random assortment of characters, everybody gets a random assortment of characters. You get a random assortment, and you get a random assortment, and you get a random assortment. But it tries to bases the random assortment on what you already have. So it tries to give you a one random character that you don't already have, one random character that is a Timegate only character, which is to say a year 1 champion at this point, and then starting later this year as well, year 2 champions. And they also it'll also give you just like a random one in slot. So it tries to give you somebody you've never had, tries to give you a year 1 character that and then it's just kind of it's pretty random. So that's why whenever there's a natural Timegate weekend, there tends to be some pretty big threads on the Reddit, and the Discord gets a lot of questions about who somebody should pick, and because it varies wildly based on what you have. Is the plan still to release another Modron Core background team and 4th patron relatively around the same time? I don't think we ever gave a specific ETA on any one of those things, Mike Baldy. I do have a good idea of when the next patron is coming, and I can confirm that it is not at the same time as a Modron Core. Expect the patron sooner, expect other things later. I know that it's vague, but that's the best answer I can give right now. We have a lot of things that are in various stages of development, and I don't want to. They shift around based on a lot of different factors behind the scenes. So, yeah. Alrighty. Hugh does seem to be on the fairly low side of buffing damage of other champions. Is it intentional, maybe due to how great the speed up ability is? Traditionally, we don't often make the output of a champion's buff. If we don't often make the output of a champion's buff as good as dedicated support champions, when champions can also do other things like tank and be speed champions and be healers. And really, I'm just talking about Briv, who's too good. Let's see. Where will Monday's announcement appear first? I can't answer that, Star Chaser. What I can say is that it will appear everywhere. It'll be a big announcement for us. But I don't expect you to get the same kind of coverage that the next Fortnite patch inevitably will. We are aware that we are, a little bit of a smaller company. Can we get a math developer on at some point for the questions you cannot answer? That is a really, really great point and question, Drew Bud, and I would like to. I actually, last week, one of the reasons that we had Chris Dupuis on last week so we would talk about what's coming to the game was because I have been asking the developer team, the dev team, for a while now, for 2021. I've been trying to get somebody on stream to talk about those kinds of questions. And honestly, they're just really, really busy, and it's hard to get them. And because of what we are announcing next week, the last time I asked Peter if I could have a developer on stream to talk about something, he just said, no, we're busy. Which, fair enough, they're busy. Alrighty. As it is nearing, will your 100th champion be something more special than the others? Not saying that they're not awesome. That's a very good question, Human Rejection. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who the number 100 will be. That'll be next year, I think. Yeah, that'll be next year sometime. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe it'll be Chandril Chasseur or something, you know? Like, we'll grab a character that people aren't expecting. Let's see. With Human needing to be in front for certain effects, but only having 5 overwhelm, any further chance of Nayeli getting her taunt back? That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I could pass it along. It's good feedback. For this person. Is Brib considered to be too good, and should we worry about a potential scaling back of one or more of his abilities? Yeah, I guess that's like... I know I just said that I'm like, Brib is too good. And what I mean by that is that like Briv is... It might not say Bard, but Briv is the Bard of Idle Champions in that Briv is good at everything. Like, pretty darn good healer, pretty darn good tank, pretty darn good speed champion, pretty good, darn good buffer. And so the reason I call him out as too good is that he does everything really well and is an excellent purchase for anybody who wants a champion that could do a lot of good things. Yeah, Briv is awesome. We're not currently looking at Briv in terms of potentially scaling him back or nerfing him or fixing bugs that unintentionally lead to a lower performance. We have our eyes on some outliers. I think you guys are pretty acutely aware of who the outliers are. But yeah, not currently planning to do anything to Briv. That could obviously change, but we're not currently planning. Okay. How much of Human will work in a background party? Oh God, I have no idea. Traditionally, champions that have different speed abilities don't all function correctly either in the background party with Modron automation or with offline progress, because each of them has a unique effect that needs to be coded into different systems in order for it to work. So I really don't know. Cassius 335, I'm going to note that one for the devs as well. Okay, what's next? Are we likely to see Modron enhancements ahead of a third Modron core/party? Or would those likely release together? Thank you. That's a good question, Inodetta. And I have no idea if I said your name correctly. As I understand it, the thing about Modron automation and multi-party mode is it's like many other aspects of the game, like the memory footprint that we use, is kind of like an ongoing thing where we're always trying to iterate on it and make it better. But that, where that focus is and how much of that manpower effort is getting put towards making that feature better varies depending on how many things we have going on. Right now, I suspect, I cannot confirm because I have not talked directly to the developers, but hearing about what they're working on, it sounds like many of them are working on something I can't say and something I can't say, but neither of those things are Modron automation. Yeah. The announcement next week, is it going to be a good one? I mean, we think so. It's something that myself and Chris Dupuis and some very awesome people and our dev team have put a great deal of time into. We really want it to be something awesome, and we think it's awesome. And I mean, we'll get a barometer check from the community on Monday when we start talking about it. Yeah. But yeah, we think it's super awesome. So I think it's super awesome. We're doing our best to make it super awesome. I know I'm saying super awesome too much, but yeah, it's going to be super awesome. Oh, that'll be a terrible clip if somebody makes it. Okay. Will there be formations with more than 10 champions? I don't know. We talked a little bit about the idea of using more champions in a formation, like 10 to 12 for a particularly epic event, but it blows wide open the door for just balance in general. having that many characters out is very, very unbalancing to the way that the game is currently set up. So even just one more character, like going from 10 to 11 is a lot more. Yeah. But so I'm not saying no, we'll never do it, but it's not something that we're currently entertaining. All right. Sometimes I have enough familiars for a formation, but some of the saved familiars are in another party. Could you make the familiars fungible? 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 What is that? What do you mean by that? What is fungible? Fungible? Any familiar can go anywhere? But like, what do you... So, if a particular familiar is in a... Like, are you wanting the familiars to be able to look like anyone and go anywhere? Or like, I'm not sure I understand the question. I mean, all familiars are functionally the same. The only thing that's different between them is their appearance. Okay, so what you're asking is you want it so that if your background formation has a whole bunch of familiars in usage, that those specific ones can be added to a foreground formation, which would, I guess, automatically swap them out with another one. I don't know. Yeah, it substitutes them. So like a generic, like in a saved formation, it's generic familiar saved, like whichever ones aren't being used. I don't know if that's something that we're ever intending to do. Yeah. It's certainly never been discussed as an idea that we're going to entertain. Fungible. Yeah, I can't believe I've never seen that word before. Anyways. Somebody asking if the stream died. I don't think so. I don't have any dropped frames, and I'm still uploading, so it should still be good. Hopefully. Okay. Let's see. Another quality of life suggestion. On the Steam version, can we get the collections to display the item levels of the gear? Well, that's fair feedback. I don't know if that's something that we're going to look at, but I will pass it along to... I think... how long after announcement will it show up in game? Which thing, Frankie Liga? How long after the announcement will which thing show up in the game? The super awesome thing? I mean, it's a big assumption that it's something that shows up in game, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I'm not going to give any more info on it except to say expect an announcement on Monday at some point. That is the most information you will get about it. Yeah. And I will personally disconnect the feed of Griddle Champions if Sean tries to talk about it, because he knows that he's not supposed to. And Sean doesn't know it yet, but I actually do have a way to do that remotely. Yeah. Let's see. Will it be possible to save feats in position saves? Oh, that is a really interesting question. Yeah. Dylan's a PR guy. He's creating FOMO. Hey, now. We have a specific time we're going to talk about these things. Anyways, you'll see. You'll see. Yeah, saving feats in position saves. That's an interesting idea. I will pass that along to people. One more question about the announcement. Will it be written up on the CNE page or talked about live? Yes. Yeah. Anywho, wow, it's 1:45. That went by quickly. That went by really quickly. Okay, so yeah, there were 2 hidden codes in this episode, and you guys found them way too easily. Although I did find myself emphasizing one of them a little bit too much. But the other one I didn't talk about at all, so I'm glad you got it. Yeah, cool, right on. Are there plans to redo the 1002 plus instant kill tanks with mobs with them? Not at the moment. I mean, it's a pretty big outlier that anybody makes it that far without using something to help them get that far. I'm not saying that you can't get there through gameplay, but you know, it's a very, very, very small slice of the player base that does anything anywhere near that level. So like right now we're not too worried about it, but you know, that's the kind of thing that we evaluate as we add global power to the game, like, which is to say soft cap increases or features that allow you to increase the damage across the board in major ways, like when Motron automation came out. Yeah. Is there a way to save a familiar's formation, or do I have to drag them individually at the beginning of each adventure? Familiar placement will save with your formation save. So right down here, like, I guess I'll have to switch this over to the game only. In my bottom left corner here, my Ashara Deeps formation, it says 17 out of 38 familiars assigned because all the placement for them was saved with that formation. Yeah. Let's see. Why does the blue/rare celestial feat durable cost 50,000 gems? Is that the con one? Yeah, I mean, that was the price it was released at. As far as I know, that is correct. Who is the character behind Nova in the formation? So there are 2 characters behind Nova. I have Sentry here in the Sentinel Prime Sentry skin, and there's Ulcoria Stone Marrow, the Gargoyle, cranky old Shield Dwarf Archmage. Those are the 2 characters behind Nova. Admittedly, this is a lot more confusing in that many of the characters are using their skins and don't look like they normally do. Have Hadar Keelik there, just to make sure that all the skins are being shown. How many familiars are there in game? Ooh, at this point, lots. Yeah, God, we have so many of them now, and I don't think I'm missing any. What is that? 38? 38 familiars? I think that's right. 38 familiars for now. There will be more. I am still running at unkillable enemies close to my wall. Will this be solved? I mean, Mavonkin, I can't really answer a question with that little information. Like, I don't know where your wall is or what's going on. The way the game scales, you eventually reach a point where you can't kill something and it can kill you instantly. You know, for most players, that's in the area when... I mean, for most players, it's lower than the Area 1000 range, but like people tend to peak out around Area 900, 1000, with as far as they get before they just start getting annihilated. So, why aren't feats listed in the gem shop item of the shop? That's a really good question, Barney, and it's something that we talked about when Justin was on stream last time. The crux of it is that there's too many of them. So like, we look at how many things we could fit on screen here. If feats were on the gem shop, you would have like 20 pages of feats, just feats and feat, like just tons of them. So we realized right away that if we were to put that into the gem shop, that it would make it basically unusable. It would just be all feats. So we instead looked at the idea of possibly creating a different interface for it, or having it show up in a different way, maybe being in the collection screen or something. And I don't know if we've settled on a specific way to introduce it and feature it, so we haven't gotten there yet. Let's see. I've been missing streams lately. What did I miss about Ashara DPS? It seems like it might be a thing. There are enough characters that are good for you to viably use Ashara to get quite far in the game. Yeah, I am using an Ashara formation right now. During this adventure, with purely idle play, without really paying attention to it, my Ashara formation is pretty easily and consistently making it to like 760, 770 before I have to look at it. And who knows how many more areas further if I started to do bench stacking and sorry, not bench stacking, debuff swapping characters beyond that. Yeah. Alrighty. On the topic of tanks and damage, are you guys looking at the extreme amount tank health boosts up to, particularly in relation to the amount that healers can heal and monsters below 2000, 1002 can do? I mean, I don't know that that's specifically something that we're looking at, Mike Baldy. As far as I am aware, we are pretty happy with the amount of progress that players are able to make and how this all fits together. Yeah. There we go, Mars. Ashara DPS with Potpourri and Short Folk gets me to 900. There you go. Yeah. Wow. Anyways, I have just a couple more minutes here before I am going to wrap things up. So what can I say? I could say a few things. First, huge shout out and thank you to Storyteller Mars. For being such an... for being a part of the community who is so giving and helpful and, doing everything from moderating to creating guides, etc. Mars, thank you. It's very appreciated. And thank you for joining me today. Shoutouts beyond that to our moderators and everybody else who makes guides. Garward puts in a lot of work into these guides. Silisa has done a ton of guides and put a lot of work into it. Axis of Anarchy and Silisa and Mars have done a lot of work moderating on the Discord, trying to maintain the community that we have. It's really appreciated. Beyond that, tomorrow, the next show after this one will be Griddle Champions with Sean and Lee. And, they have some fun art that they're going to be going through, talking about, and not at all talking about what's coming on Monday, or I will end them. Then we also have, two more. We have Garwar's Guide to Everything tomorrow afternoon. We have we don't have the Bushwhacker weekly stream this week. We're taking a week off on that show, but it should be back Friday next week. And then there'll be Garwar's Guide to, I want to say, the Champions of Renown, maybe year 3 on Saturday. It's very, very cool. Otherwise, I hope everybody's, we talked, we got into some pretty raw and heavy territory with our the discussion earlier in the stream, and I just want to make sure that, hey, I hope you guys are all taking care of yourselves, that you're doing what you can to maintain your own mental health and wellness and well-being, because it's hard to help anybody else if you don't help yourself first. And it's been a challenging when the pandemic started. I mean, the lockdowns really started in earnest everywhere in like March, but it's been a time. So acknowledge that, take care of each other. This show is possible because of lots of amazing people behind the scenes. First and foremost, and perhaps most invisible but most helpful. I don't know how many, 3 or 4 points. Sasha, co-producer, moderator, helping to make sure that I don't miss questions, keeping me informed of different things, generally keeping the chat awesome. So thank you, Sasha. Thank you for joining us today, for participating in the Idle Champions and D&D communities. You guys are awesome. This has been our show for Thursday, February 4th, 2021. Take care, everybody, and see you tomorrow for Griddle Champions. Cheers.
Thank you.